The crystal chandelier above the Bennett family dining table cast perfect light on what should have been an ordinary Thursday dinner. I sat in my emerald green dress, the one Cameron said made my brown skin glow, cutting into my herb-crusted salmon while his mother Andrea discussed her charity foundation's upcoming gala. Everything seemed normal. That's what made what happened next so much worse. I had married Cameron Bennett 3 years ago, believing I'd found my forever. He was handsome, successful, and treated me like I mattered. We met at an architecture conference where his real estate company was scouting designers. I was presenting my sustainable housing project and he was in the front row, actually paying attention. 6 months later, he proposed on a beach in Maldives. I thought I knew him. I was wrong. "So, Naomi," Cameron said, setting down his wine glass with a soft click that somehow silenced the entire table. "I've been thinking about our marriage." I looked up, smiling. Maybe he wanted to plan an anniversary trip. Our third was coming up next month. "I think we should open things up," he continued, his voice casual like he was discussing the weather. See other people. An open marriage arrangement. The fork slipped from my hand, clattering against the china plate. Andrea gasped. Richard, Cameron's father, went very still. But Cameron just kept talking as if he was making a business proposal. "It's very modern," he explained, looking around the table but not quite at me. "Lots of successful couples do it. We can maintain our lifestyle, our social standing, but have the freedom to explore other connections. I've actually already met someone. Simone Price. She's in marketing, brilliant woman. I think you'd like her, Naomi." The room tilted. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. He'd already met someone. This wasn't a discussion. This was an announcement. He'd made a decision about our marriage without me, and now he was telling me about it over dinner with his parents as witnesses. "When did you meet her?" My voice came out steady, which surprised me. "About a year ago," Cameron said, reaching for his wine again. "She's been very patient, very understanding about our situation. But I think it's time to be honest about what I want." A year. An entire year of lies while I'd been designing our dream home, planning our future, believing in us. I looked at Andrea, who wouldn't meet my eyes. Richard stared at his plate. They'd known, I realized. Maybe not everything, but they'd known something. "So let me understand this correctly," I said, my voice growing clearer with each word. "You've been having an affair for a year. You've decided, without consulting me, that we're in an open marriage. And you're announcing this over dinner at your parents' house instead of privately with your wife." "Well, I thought having family present would make it more civil," Cameron said, and he had the nerve to look confused by my tone. "This way we can all discuss it rationally." Rationally. I set my napkin on the table, smoothing it carefully. My hands weren't shaking yet, but they would be soon. "You want me to rationally discuss you sleeping with another woman for a year and then demanding I accept it?" "Naomi, don't be dramatic," Cameron sighed. "This is about honesty and growth. We can both benefit from this arrangement." Something cold settled in my chest, pushing out the hurt and replacing it with clarity. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Everyone looked at me, waiting for tears maybe, or shouting. I gave them neither. "You're absolutely right, Cameron," I said calmly. "This is about honesty. So here's mine. If we're in an open marriage, then I'm not married at all. I'm single. Completely, totally single." "Now wait," Cameron started, standing too. "That's not what I meant." "But it's what you said. An open marriage means we're free to see other people, right?" "Well, I don't want an open marriage. I wanted a real one, a faithful one. Since you've decided we don't have that, then we don't have anything. I'm done." "Naomi, sit down. Let's discuss this like adults," Andrea tried, her voice sharp. "I am discussing this like an adult, Andrea. Your son is the one who made a unilateral decision about our marriage and announced it over pot roast. I'm simply accepting the reality he's created. I'm single. The marriage is over." I walked toward the door, my heels clicking on the marble floor. Cameron followed me, his voice rising. "You can't just leave. We need to talk about this properly." I turned at the doorway, looking at him clearly for maybe the first time in months. His perfect hair, his expensive suit, his entitled expression. How had I missed this? How long had he been this person? "There's nothing to talk about, Cameron. You made your choice. You chose her. You chose to humiliate me in front of your parents rather than having the courage to face me alone. You chose to lie for a year. Those were all your choices. This is mine." I walked out of the Bennett mansion into the cool evening air. My car was right where I'd parked it, my beautiful blue sedan that I'd bought with my own money from my architecture firm. I got in, started the engine, and drove away from that house without looking back. It wasn't until I was 3 blocks away that I pulled over and let myself feel it. The betrayal. The humiliation. The absolute shock of having your life rearranged without your permission. I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel and breathed. My phone buzzed. Probably Cameron calling to tell me I was overreacting. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally, I looked. The messages weren't from Cameron. They were from Julian Foster, Cameron's best friend since college. Julian, who was always polite at gatherings, who worked in investment banking, who I barely knew beyond surface pleasantries. The first message was simple. Naomi, I'm so sorry. I should have told you sooner. The second message made my blood run cold. I have evidence. Photos. Messages. Financial records. Cameron and Simone have been planning this for months. The open marriage thing was her idea. She wants to be public with him. I couldn't stay quiet after what he just did to you. The third message contained an attachment. I opened it with shaking hands. It was a photo of Cameron and a woman with blonde hair, taken at what looked like a restaurant. They were holding hands across the table. The timestamp was from 6 months ago. There were more photos. Dozens of them. Cameron and Simone at hotels, at business dinners, at his downtown office after hours. But worse than the photos were the message screenshots Julian had somehow obtained. Messages between Cameron and Simone talking about me like I was an obstacle to work around. Simone writing, once you announce the open marriage, she'll either accept it or leave. Either way, I get to stop hiding. Cameron responding, my lawyer says the prenup will protect most of my assets if she files for divorce. And if she stays, we get what we want anyway. It's perfect. I sat in my car, reading through months of betrayal, and something shifted inside me. The hurt was still there, sharp and deep. But underneath it, something harder was forming. Determination. Anger. A cold, clear understanding that Cameron had made a massive mistake. He thought he'd trapped me. He thought he'd planned everything perfectly. He thought I'd either accept being disrespected or leave quietly with nothing. He was wrong. I texted Julian back. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? I need to know everything. His response came immediately, yes. I'll bring everything I have. He doesn't deserve you, Naomi. He never did. I started my car again and drove toward my best friend Grace's apartment. Grace, who was a lawyer, sharp as they come, and she'd been skeptical of Cameron from the start. I dismissed her concerns as overprotectiveness. I owed her an apology. More than that, I needed her professional help. Because Cameron wanted an open marriage? Fine. What he was about to get was an open war. And unlike him, I wasn't going to fight dirty in the dark. I was going to fight smart, in the light, with every legal weapon at my disposal. By the time I reached Grace's building, I'd stopped crying. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. Cameron had made his choice at that dinner table. Now I was making mine. And mine was going to cost him everything. Grace opened her apartment door in pajama pants and an oversized law school sweatshirt, took one look at my face and pulled me inside. She didn't ask questions, just guided me to her blue couch, put a cup of tea in my hands and waited. I told her everything. Every word Cameron had said at dinner. The casual cruelty of it. The way his parents just sat there. How I'd walked out and then gotten Julian's messages. Show me, Grace said, her lawyer voice activating. I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the messages and photos Julian had sent, her expression growing darker with each swipe. When she finished, she looked up at me with fire in her eyes. This is good. This is really good. Not for you emotionally, and I'm so sorry about that. But legally? Naomi, this is exactly what we need. Adultery, proof of affair, evidence of premeditation. That prenup he's counting on? It has a fidelity clause. I helped you review it, remember? If he cheated, the prenup protections don't apply. I remembered. 3 years ago, sitting in this same apartment, Grace had insisted we go through every line of the prenup Cameron's lawyers had drafted. There had been a clause about fidelity, but Cameron had signed it easily, promising he'd never need to worry about it. Another lie. Julian wants to meet tomorrow morning, I said. He says he has more evidence. Then we meet him. The three of us. I want to see everything he's got. I spent the night at Grace's apartment. Neither of us slept much. She made a list of every document we'd need, every legal step we'd take. I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember when Cameron had changed. Or had he always been this person and I just missed it? At 8 the next morning, we met Julian at a coffee shop near Grace's office. It was a bright, modern place with large windows and blue walls, full of morning commuters. Julian was already there, sitting at a corner table with his laptop and a thick folder. He stood when we approached. Julian Foster was tall, with dark hair and kind eyes that looked tired today. He wore a gray suit like he'd come straight from his banking job. When he shook my hand, his grip was gentle. "Thank you for meeting me," he said quietly. "I know this must be incredibly hard." "Let's see what you have," Grace said, all business. We sat down. Julian opened his laptop and turned it toward us. "I need you to understand something first. I've been Cameron's friend since we were 18. We went to college together, started our careers at the same time. I thought I knew him. But this past year, watching what he's been doing to you, Naomi, I realized I didn't know him at all. Or maybe I knew him and didn't want to see it." "How did you get all this evidence?" Grace asked, her lawyer instincts sharp. "I'm Cameron's emergency contact for his digital accounts. It's a mutual thing, we set it up years ago for security. Last month, he locked himself out of his personal email and asked me to help him recover it. When I logged in to assist, I saw the messages with Simone. I couldn't unsee them." "Did you confront him?" I asked. Julian shook his head. "I thought about it, but I knew he'd just deny it or make excuses. So I started documenting everything instead. I thought maybe I'd find a way to tell you privately. Then he pulled that stunt at dinner last night and I couldn't stay silent anymore. He showed us the emails first. Months of correspondence between Cameron and Simone. Planning dates. Discussing their relationship. And worse, discussing me. In one email, Simone wrote, "I'm tired of being your secret. You need to figure out the Naomi situation. Either divorce her or convince her to accept me. I'm not hiding anymore." Cameron had responded, "I'll handle it. Give me time. The business needs her architecture firm's reputation right now. Once the Riverside project is finished, I'll make my move." The Riverside project. My project. The sustainable housing development I'd been designing for Cameron's company for the past 8 months. He'd been using my work, my reputation, while planning to humiliate me. "There's more," Julian said, clicking to another file. "Financial records. Cameron's been moving money." Grace leaned forward, her eyes scanning the spreadsheets Julian pulled up. "What am I looking at?" "Marital assets being funneled into offshore accounts. Cameron's been doing it slowly for about 6 months. Small transfers that wouldn't trigger automatic alerts. But it adds up. He's hidden almost $2 million. I felt sick. "Why?" "Insurance policy," Grace said grimly. "He wanted to make sure that when you divorced, he could claim less wealth than he actually has. The prenup splits assets 50-50, but only the assets that are disclosed. If he hides money and you don't know to look for it, he keeps it all." "That's fraud," I said. "Yes," Grace agreed. "It absolutely is. And it voids the prenup completely. Julian, can you testify to this? And can you provide copies of these records?" "I can. I will. Whatever you need." Julian looked at me directly. "I'm sorry I didn't come to you sooner. I kept thinking Cameron would come to his senses, that he'd realize what he was throwing away. I was wrong. He's not going to stop. So I decided to help you instead." "Why?" The question came out before I could stop it. "Why risk your friendship for me?" Julian was quiet for a moment. "Because it's not a friendship worth keeping if this is who he really is. And because you don't deserve this, Naomi. No one does. What he did last night was cruel. Calculated. He humiliated you in front of his parents because he wanted witnesses, people who'd pressure you to stay quiet and accept it. I'm not going to be part of that." Grace was already making notes, her pen flying across her legal pad. "Okay, here's what we do. Naomi, you do not go back to the house except to get your immediate personal items. Julian, I need copies of everything you have, all these emails and financial records. We need to move fast before Cameron realizes what we know." "What about Simone?" I asked. "Does she know about the money hiding?" Julian pulled up another email. "She knows. Look at this." It was a message from Simone to Cameron dated 2 weeks ago. "Your accountant called asking about the Cayman transfers. Did you tell him I approved them? I thought we were keeping me out of the paper trail." "She's complicit," Grace said with satisfaction. "Even better. Naomi, how do you feel about fighting this? Because I'm telling you right now, it's going to get ugly. Cameron is going to try to paint you as unreasonable. He's going to claim the open marriage was mutual. He's going to lie." I thought about Cameron's face at that dinner table. The casual way he'd destroyed our marriage. The year of lies. The hidden money. The way he'd used my work while planning my exit. "I want to fight," I said. "I want him to face consequences for what he's done. I want the truth to come out. And I want every single dollar I'm entitled to." Grace smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who'd just been handed a winning case. Then let's go to war. We spent the next 3 hours at that coffee shop, going through every piece of evidence Julian had collected. There were photos of Cameron and Simone at restaurants I recognized, places Cameron had told me he was attending business dinners. There were hotel receipts charged to Cameron's personal credit card. There were text messages discussing their relationship, making plans, talking about a future together. And there were the emails about the open marriage plan. Simone had suggested it first 3 months ago. This way, she'd written, I can be public with you without the scandal of an affair. We just tell everyone you're in an open marriage. It's very sophisticated, very European. And if Naomi can't handle it, well, that's her choice. Cameron had loved the idea. He'd researched it, found articles about open marriages, convinced himself it was reasonable. He'd never once considered asking me how I felt about it. He just decided. The dinner was staged, I realized aloud. He wanted witnesses. His parents were there to put social pressure on me to accept it. Probably, Julian agreed. Cameron thinks strategically. He always has. But he underestimated you. He thinks I'll either give in or leave quietly, I said. He's counting on the prenup to protect him if I file for divorce. Which it won't, Grace said firmly, because he violated it. Naomi, here's what's going to happen. We're going to file for divorce based on adultery and fraud. We're going to demand full disclosure of all assets, including the hidden offshore accounts. We're going to subpoena his financial records. And we're going to make sure that every lie he's told comes out in court. What about Cameron's company? I asked. The Riverside Project? That's yours, Grace said. Your design, your work. We'll make sure you're properly compensated for it, and we'll make sure your name stays on it. He doesn't get to steal your professional reputation too. My phone had been buzzing all morning. Cameron calling, texting, demanding I come home so we could talk. His mother had called twice. I'd ignored them all. Now Grace took my phone and blocked Cameron's number. All communication goes through lawyers from now on, she said. You don't talk to him, you don't respond to him. If he shows up somewhere you leave. Understand? I nodded. Good. Julian, thank you for this. I'll need you to sign some affidavits and you may be called to testify. Are you prepared for that? I am, Julian said without hesitation. Cameron made his choice. I'm making mine. We left the coffee shop with a plan. Grace would start drafting divorce papers immediately. I would go to the house with Grace present, get my essential items, and move into a hotel until I found an apartment. Julian would provide Grace with copies of all his evidence. And then we'd file for divorce and watch Cameron's perfect plan fall apart. As we walked to our cars, Julian touched my arm gently. Naomi, I just want you to know something. I've seen you at events, at dinners for 3 years. You've always been kind, always genuine. Cameron didn't see what he had. That's his loss. Don't let this make you think you weren't enough. You were always enough. He was just too selfish to appreciate it. Something in my chest cracked a little at those words. I'd been holding everything together, staying strong, focusing on the fight. But Julian's kindness reached past my defenses. Thank you, I managed to say. For everything. For the evidence, for the support. For seeing what was happening and choosing to help. We're going to get through this, he said. And you're going to come out the other side stronger. I promise. As I drove away with Grace toward the house I'd shared with Cameron, I believed him. Not because I felt strong yet, but because I had people on my side. Real people, honest people who saw Cameron's cruelty and refused to accept it. Cameron thought he'd planned everything perfectly. But he'd forgotten one crucial thing. I wasn't alone. And I wasn't going to go quietly. The war was just beginning and I intended to win. Grace insisted on coming with me to the house. You don't face him alone, she said firmly as we pulled into the circular driveway of the modern home Cameron and I had bought 2 years ago. I'd loved this house once. I'd designed parts of it myself, overseeing the renovation, choosing every detail. Now it just looked like a monument to my own blindness. Cameron's car was in the garage. Of course he was home. Probably waiting to talk some sense into me. Remember, Grace said as we got out. Get your essentials only. Clothes, documents, personal items. Don't discuss anything with him. If he tries to talk, I'll handle it. My hands shook as I unlocked the front door. The house was exactly as I'd left it last night except for one thing. Cameron was sitting in the living room, still in his work clothes, a glass of something amber in his hand. Naomi, he stood up when he saw me. Thank God. We need to talk about last night. I think you misunderstood what I was trying to say. I understood perfectly, I said, walking past him toward the stairs. Grace stayed between us like a shield. Mr. Bennett, I'm Grace Wu, Mrs. Bennett's attorney. Any communication from this point forward needs to go through me. Naomi is here to collect her personal belongings, and I'd appreciate it if you'd give her space to do so. Cameron's face went pale then red. Attorney? Naomi, you got a lawyer? That's a bit extreme, don't you think? We're both adults. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out, I called from halfway up the stairs. You made your position very clear. I went to our bedroom, that word, our, already feeling wrong. Grace followed me while Cameron stayed downstairs, probably trying to figure out his next move. I grabbed a suitcase and started packing. Clothes, shoes, jewelry. My laptop, my design portfolio. The framed photo of my mother. My architecture awards. Everything that was mine and only mine. Grace was looking at the bedroom with a professional eye. Is there a safe? Any documents stored here? Cameron's office. He has a safe behind a painting. Do you know the combination? I paused, a dress half folded in my hands. I do. He gave it to me when we moved in, said I should have access to everything. Another lie apparently, since he's been hiding money. Let's check it, Grace said. We went to Cameron's office, a large room overlooking the backyard with built-in bookshelves and a massive desk. Everything was neat, organized. Cameron liked order. He liked control. The painting was a modern piece, all sharp angles and cool colors. I swung it aside and entered the combination. The safe clicked open. Inside were documents. Our marriage certificate. The deed to the house. Insurance papers. And underneath, a file folder I'd never seen before. Grace pulled it out carefully, her lawyer hands gentle with potential evidence. She opened it and her eyebrows rose. Naomi, look at this. It was a contract between Cameron and Simone Price, dated 6 months ago. A business contract making her a marketing consultant for Cameron's company at an astronomical salary. But the details were strange. She was only required to work 10 hours per month, but was being paid a full-time executive salary. This is how he's been paying her, Grace said quietly. He's funneling marital assets to her through fake business contracts. This is fraud, Naomi. This is serious fraud. There were more documents. Property records for an apartment downtown, purchased under an LLC Cameron controlled. The address looked familiar and then I remembered. It was the building where I'd seen Cameron's car parked on several occasions when he said he was working late. He bought her an apartment, I said, my voice hollow. With marital money, Grace corrected. Every dollar he spent on her, on this apartment, on this fake consulting contract, is marital property he misused. Naomi, this case is getting better and better. For you, I mean. For him, it's a disaster. She pulled out her phone and started photographing everything. Every document, every contract, every piece of evidence of Cameron's betrayal and fraud. Cameron appeared in the doorway. What are you doing in my office? Collecting evidence, Grace said calmly, not stopping her photographing. This is still legally Naomi's home, and she has every right to access these areas. In fact, thank you for keeping such detailed records of your fraudulent activity. It's very helpful. You can't take those, Cameron stepped forward, his voice rising. Those are private business documents. Actually, Grace said, finishing her photos and carefully returning the documents to the safe, we're not taking them. We're just documenting their existence. We'll be subpoenaing all of these in discovery. I'd recommend you don't destroy them, because that would be destruction of evidence, which is a crime. Cameron's face went from red to white. I want you both out of my house. Now. Not your house, I said, my voice steady. Our house. Marital property. And I'm not done packing. I pushed past him back to the bedroom. Grace stayed with Cameron, probably to make sure he didn't try to remove or destroy any evidence. I could hear them talking in low, tense voices as I finished filling my suitcase. In the bathroom, I found more evidence of Cameron's double life. 2 toothbrushes. Women's face cream I'd never used. A bottle of perfume I didn't recognize. Simone had been here in our home, in our bathroom. The betrayal went deeper than I'd realized. I took photos of everything with my phone. Evidence. It was all evidence now. My phone buzzed. A text from Julian. I forgot to mention. Check Cameron's laptop if you can. There's a folder called Finance 2024. Password is his mother's maiden name. More offshore records. I showed the message to Grace when she came back upstairs. Can we do that legally? It's community property, Grace said. And he gave you access to the house. Where's his laptop? Home office probably. We went back downstairs. Cameron was on his phone in the living room, probably calling his own lawyer. We ignored him and went back to the office. His laptop was on the desk, closed but not locked away. I opened it, typed in the password, and found the folder Julian had mentioned. What I saw made me feel physically sick. Cameron hadn't just hidden $2 million. He'd hidden over $5 million. And he'd been planning this for over a year, since before Simone had even pushed for the open marriage. This wasn't a spontaneous affair that got out of hand. This was calculated, premeditated theft. "Grace," I breathed. "Look at this." She leaned over my shoulder and let out a low whistle. "That's grand theft. That's not just breach of contract or adultery. That's actual, prosecutable theft. Naomi, he's been robbing you for a year." "Send it to yourself," I said. "Send it all." Grace pulled out a USB drive from her purse. "Already ahead of you." I came prepared. She downloaded the entire folder while I stood guard at the door. When she was done, she ejected the drive and put it safely in her bag. Cameron appeared in the doorway, his phone still in his hand. His lawyer must have told him how bad this was because his face had gone slack. "Naomi, please. Can we just talk? Alone?" "No," I said simply. "We're done talking. You talked last night at dinner, remember? You told me what you wanted. An open marriage. Freedom. Well, you're about to be very free." "I didn't mean it like that," he started, but I held up my hand. "You did. You meant exactly what you said. You wanted to keep me as a wife on paper while you lived your real life with Simone. You wanted my reputation for your business and her in your bed. You wanted to have everything while giving me nothing. But the problem, Cameron, is that you got greedy. You didn't just cheat. You stole. And now you're going to pay for both." I walked out of the office, Grace behind me. We got my suitcase from upstairs and headed for the door. "You'll regret this," Cameron called after us, his voice desperate now. "I'll fight you. My family has the best lawyers in the state." "Then it will be a fair fight," Grace called back. "Because you're going to need them." We loaded my suitcase into Grace's car and drove away. I didn't look back at the house this time either. I was done looking back. "Hotel or my place?" Grace asked as we drove. "Hotel," I said. "I need space to think. To process all of this." "Fair. But Naomi? You need to know something. What we found today, it changes everything. Cameron's not just a cheating husband anymore. He's a criminal. And with the evidence we have, there's a real possibility he could face charges beyond just the divorce." "Good," I said, surprising myself with the coldness in my voice. "He deserves it." We checked me into a nice hotel with a view of the city. Grace helped me carry my suitcase up, made sure I was settled, and then sat me down on the blue couch by the window. "I'm going to file the divorce papers tomorrow," she said. "Are you ready for that? Once we file, there's no going back. It becomes public record. Cameron will know we have evidence. It's going to get ugly fast." I looked out the window at the city lights below. Somewhere down there, Cameron was probably panicking. Simone was probably texting him, demanding to know what was happening. His parents were probably strategizing. They were all probably certain I'd back down, accept a quiet settlement, go away. They were all wrong. "File the papers," I said. "I'm ready." Grace nodded, gave me a quick hug, and left me alone in my hotel room. I ordered room service, took a long shower, and then sat on the bed with my laptop. Julian had sent me an email with more information. Bank statements showing transfers to Simone. Receipts for jewelry, trips, expensive gifts. All charged to accounts Cameron controlled. All money that should have been ours spent on her. At the bottom of the email, Julian had written, "I know this is hard to see, but you need to know the full truth. Cameron didn't just fall into this. He planned it. And Simone helped him. Neither of them cared about how this would hurt you. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I didn't protect you from this. But I'm here now and I'll help you however I can." I typed back, "Thank you. For everything. I don't know what I would have done without your evidence." His response came quickly, "You would have been fine. You're stronger than Cameron ever gave you credit for. That's going to be his downfall." I closed the laptop and lay back on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, Grace would file the divorce papers. Tomorrow, the legal battle would begin in earnest. Tomorrow, Cameron would realize I wasn't the quiet, compliant wife he'd taken for granted. But tonight, in this quiet hotel room, I let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. The hurt. The anger. The betrayal. The grief for the marriage I thought I'd had, the man I thought I'd married. I cried for about an hour, ugly tears that soaked the hotel pillows. And then I stopped. I washed my face, looked at myself in the mirror, and made a decision. Cameron wanted a war? He was going to get one. But he was going to find out that he'd underestimated the woman he married. I wasn't going to be a victim. I was going to be a survivor. And I was going to win. The next morning, Grace filed the divorce papers. By noon, Cameron had been served. By 2 p.m., my phone was exploding with messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Cameron's friends, his business associates, all wanting to know what was happening. I blocked them all. Grace called at 3. His lawyers are already requesting a meeting. They want to settle quickly and quietly. I told them we're not interested. What did they say? That Cameron is willing to honor the prenup terms. 50-50 split of disclosed assets. Standard settlement. They're trying to make this go away before discovery happens. Because discovery will expose the hidden money, I said. Exactly. They want to settle before we can subpoena his financial records. I told them absolutely not. We want full forensic accounting. Every account, every asset, everything. I was in my hotel room, my laptop open to my architecture firm's project files. I'd been trying to focus on anything other than my dissolving marriage. It wasn't working. Grace, what about my work? The Riverside project. I've already sent a letter to Cameron's company asserting your intellectual property rights. Every design, every plan is yours. If they want to use your work, they need to pay you properly for it. Not through Cameron. Through you directly. Will they fight that? They might. But it's clearly your work. Your designs, your specifications, your vision. Any architect can testify to that. Cameron might own the company, but he doesn't own your talent. After Grace hung up, I tried again to work. I had other projects, other clients. Life didn't stop because my marriage ended. But I kept getting distracted by my phone. Julian texted, I heard Cameron's lawyers are pushing for a quick settlement. Don't do it. They're scared. I replied, Grace already told them no. We're going to discovery. Good. I'm meeting with a forensic accountant this afternoon. Someone I trust. He's going to help trace all of Cameron's hidden assets. The offshore accounts are complicated, but they're not invisible. Thank you. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Cameron used our friendship as cover. He thought I'd never betray him, never tell you the truth. He was wrong. Actions have consequences. I put down my phone and stared out the window. It was a bright afternoon, the sun harsh on the glass buildings across the street. Everything looked sharp, clear, unforgiving. That's how I felt. Clear. Focused. My phone rang. Not a text this time. An actual call from a number I recognized. Andrea Bennett, Cameron's mother. I almost didn't answer. But then I thought, why not? What could she possibly say that would make this worse? Hello, Andrea. Naomi, dear. Her voice was sweet, concerned. I wanted to check on you. We're all so worried. This divorce filing is so sudden. Don't you think you're being a bit hasty? No, I said simply. I don't. But darling, Cameron says this is all a misunderstanding. He didn't mean to upset you. He was just trying to be honest about his feelings. That's actually quite mature if you think about it. I almost laughed. Mature. Right. Having an affair for a year, hiding millions of dollars, and announcing an open marriage at a family dinner. Very mature. There was a pause. You know about the money? I know about everything, Andrea. The affair. The hidden accounts. The apartment he bought for Simone. The fraudulent consulting contracts. Everything. Another pause, longer this time. Naomi, you have to understand. Cameron is under a lot of stress with the business. Sometimes men make mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting an anniversary or double booking dinner plans. This was calculated theft and betrayal. And you knew, didn't you? You knew about Simone before that dinner. Andrea faltered. I knew Cameron had met someone. But I thought if he got it out of his system he'd come back to you. That's what men do. They stray but they come home. Well, he can come home to an empty house, I said. Because I'm done. And Andrea? Don't call me again. Any communication goes through my lawyer. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anger. From the absolute audacity of these people to think I'd just accept this, just let it go, just be a good little wife and pretend nothing happened. That evening, Julian came to the hotel. I'd agreed to meet him in the lobby restaurant, a bright, airy space with large windows and green plants everywhere. He was already at a table when I arrived, 2 cups of coffee waiting. You look tired, he said as I sat down. I haven't been sleeping well. Understandable. He pushed one of the coffees toward me. I met with the forensic accountant. His name is Nathan Price, and yes, he's related to Simone. He's her brother. I nearly spit out my coffee. What? Her estranged brother, Julian clarified. They had a falling out years ago. He's a forensic accountant, specializes in finding hidden assets. When I told him what Cameron and Simone had done, he volunteered to help. Apparently, Simone has a history of targeting wealthy men. Nathan's been trying to stop her for years. She's done this before? Twice. Both times, she convinced married men to leave their wives for her. Both times, she made off with significant money. Nathan's been documenting her behavior, trying to warn people. But she's careful, always stays just on the legal side of things. Until now. The fake consulting contract, I said. Exactly. That crosses the line into fraud. Nathan wants to help prove it. Not just for you, but because he's tired of watching his sister destroy families. I sat back in my chair processing this. That's good for us, right? Very good. Nathan has access to financial tracking tools most people don't. He can trace the offshore accounts, prove Cameron moved marital money illegally. And he's willing to testify against Simone's involvement. Why would he do that? She's his sister. Julian was quiet for a moment. Because sometimes the right thing to do is hard. Sometimes you have to choose between loyalty and integrity. I chose integrity when I decided to give you that evidence. Nathan's making the same choice. I studied Julian across the table. He looked tired too, dark circles under his eyes. This must be hard for you. Cameron was your best friend. Was, Julian emphasized. Past tense. When he did what he did to you, when I saw those emails planning your humiliation, he stopped being my friend. You can't be friends with someone who has no integrity. Do you think he ever loved me? The question came out before I could stop it, vulnerable and raw. Julian didn't look away. Honestly, I think Cameron loved the idea of you. You're talented, beautiful, successful. You made him look good. But real love requires respect, honesty, sacrifice. He didn't give you any of those things. So no, I don't think he loved you. Not the way you deserved. It hurt to hear, but it was also freeing. Cameron hadn't loved me. Maybe he never had. And that meant I wasn't losing anything real. I was just finally seeing clearly. When this is over, I said slowly, when the divorce is final and the dust settles, I don't want to be bitter. I don't want this to break me. It won't, Julian said with certainty. You're too strong for that. You're already building your case, moving forward. You're not falling apart. You're standing up. That's not what broken people do. We talked for another hour. He told me more about what Nathan had found. Bank transfers, shell companies, property purchases. Cameron had been busy building his hidden empire of assets. But he'd also been sloppy, leaving digital trails, signing documents. He thought he was clever. He'd just been greedy. When Julian finally left, promising to send me Nathan's full report in the morning, I went back to my hotel room feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Not hope for reconciliation. That ship had sailed. But hope for justice. Hope for a future where I wasn't defined by Cameron's betrayal. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this disaster could become a new beginning. Grace called later that night. Cameron's lawyers called again. They're getting desperate. They offered 70-30 split in your favor if you'll settle now. Still no. That's what I told them. Then they tried to threaten us, said they'd drag this out, make it expensive, make it public. I told them to bring it on. We have evidence. They have lies. I like our odds. How long will this take? Honestly? Months. Maybe a year. Discovery will take time, especially with the offshore accounts. Depositions, hearings, negotiations. It's going to be a long fight, Naomi. Are you sure you're up for it? I thought about Cameron's face at that dinner table. The casual cruelty. The year of lies. The stolen money. The betrayal. I'm sure, I said. However long it takes, I'm ready. Good. Because tomorrow we start discovery requests. We're going after his bank records, business records, email accounts, everything. And Naomi? He's going to fight back. He's going to try to make you look bad, try to claim you're vindictive or gold-digging or whatever narrative his lawyers spin. You need to be prepared for that. I am prepared, I said. Let him try. The truth is on our side. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and looked at my architecture portfolio. My work. My designs. Buildings and spaces I'd created, problems I'd solved, beauty I'd brought into the world. Cameron hadn't made me who I was. My talent wasn't his. My success wasn't his. He'd just been there, taking credit, using my reputation to build his own. But I didn't need him. I never had. I opened my email and started drafting messages to clients, to colleagues, to other firms. Letting them know I was available for new projects. Establishing myself as independent from Cameron's company. Building my own foundation. If Cameron wanted war, fine. But while he fought to keep his money and his reputation, I was going to build something better. A career that was truly mine. A life that didn't depend on his approval or his lies. By the time I went to bed that night, I had 3 new project inquiries and a meeting scheduled with a major development firm for next week. They'd seen my work on the Riverside project. They wanted similar designs for their next development. Cameron had tried to use my work. Instead, he'd just given me publicity. His loss was becoming my gain. And this was only the beginning. Grace filed the discovery requests on Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, Cameron's world started crumbling. The forensic accountant, Nathan Price, had done his job well. Every hidden account, every shell company, every fraudulent transfer was documented in our filing. Grace had attached a 50-page exhibit detailing Cameron's financial fraud. His lawyers would have received it an hour ago. I was in a coffee shop, working on preliminary sketches for a new project, when Grace called. "They're offering everything," she said, her voice tight with excitement. "Full asset disclosure, 75-25 split in your favor, plus a 7-figure settlement payment. They want this to go away, Naomi. They're scared." "What about the fraud charges?" "They're begging us not to pursue criminal charges. Cameron could face actual jail time for the asset hiding. His lawyers know it. They want to settle fast, seal the records, make it all disappear." I set down my coffee cup carefully. "And what do you think?" "I think we have them cornered. But Naomi, it's your call. We can take this settlement and be done in weeks. Or we can push further, go to trial, make everything public. The settlement is very good. You'd walk away with significantly more than the prenup promised. But Cameron wouldn't face consequences," I said. "He'd just pay money and move on." "Probably. Rich men rarely face real consequences. But you'd be financially secure and you'd be free. That's worth something." I watched people walking past the coffee shop window. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, not dealing with billionaire ex-husbands and hidden offshore accounts. I envied them. "I need to think about it," I said. "Can we wait until Monday to respond?" "Of course. Take the weekend. Think about what you really want. Justice or peace. Sometimes you can't have both." After Grace hung up, I sat there for a long time. The settlement offer was good. Better than good. I could take the money, end this nightmare, move on with my life. Wasn't that what I wanted? My phone buzzed. "Julian. I heard about the settlement offer. Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. It's a lot of money. And it would be over. But Cameron gets away with it. He writes a check and moves on. No consequences. No accountability. Just money solving everything like it always does." Julian was quiet for a moment. "Can I tell you something? And I want you to really hear it, not just listen." "Okay. Whatever you decide, it's the right decision. If you take the settlement, you're not weak. You're not letting him win. You're choosing peace over vengeance, and that's valid. If you keep fighting, if you push for criminal charges, you're choosing justice, and that's valid too. Either way, Cameron has already lost. His marriage is over. His reputation is damaged. His best friend turned on him. His mistress's own brother is testifying against him. He's already paying Naomi. The question is, what do you need to heal?" I felt tears threatening and pushed them back. "I don't know what I need." "Then take the weekend to figure it out. And Naomi? Whatever you decide, I'm on your side." I spent Friday evening in my hotel room making lists. Pros and cons, practical considerations. Emotional needs. The settlement money would set me up for life. I could expand my architecture firm, take on passion projects, never worry about finances again. But would I feel satisfied? Would I look back and regret not pushing harder? Saturday morning, I met my mother Beverly for breakfast. She'd driven in from her home 2 hours away as soon as I'd told her about the divorce. We met at a bright restaurant with yellow walls and cheerful servers. "You look thin," she said immediately, pulling me into a hug. "I haven't been eating much." "That man," she muttered, pulling back to look at me. "I never liked him. Too smooth. Too perfect. Men that perfect are always hiding something." "You were right." We ordered food and I told her everything. The dinner announcement, the affair, the hidden money. She listened without interrupting, her face growing darker with each revelation. "What does your lawyer say?" she asked when I finished. "That I should probably take the settlement. It's very generous. But you don't want to." It wasn't a question. My mother knew me too well. I want him to face consequences. Real consequences. Not just financial ones. "Baby," she reached across the table and took my hand. "I understand that feeling. Lord knows I do. But you need to ask yourself what consequences you're really after. Do Do you want him in jail? Do you want his reputation destroyed? Do you want revenge? Maybe, I admitted. Is that wrong? No. It's human. He hurt you terribly. But here's what I learned when your father left us. Revenge is expensive. Not just money expensive. Soul expensive. Time expensive. You can spend years trying to make someone pay for hurting you, and at the end of it, they're still who they are, and you've lost years of your life to anger. So you think I should take the settlement? I think you should ask yourself what you want your life to look like a year from now. 2 years from now. Do you want to be the woman who's still fighting her ex-husband in court? Or do you want to be the woman who built something new? I thought about that as we ate. What did I want? Justice felt good in theory. But in practice, it meant months more of legal battles, depositions, Cameron's lawyers attacking my character, public scrutiny. Even if we won, even if Cameron faced criminal charges, he'd probably just get probation. Rich men didn't go to jail for financial crimes unless they stole from other rich men. Was it worth it? My phone buzzed. An email from the development firm I'd met with. They wanted to hire me for their project. A major sustainable housing development, exactly the kind of work I loved. But they needed an answer soon. They were on a tight timeline. I couldn't do my best work while fighting a legal war. I couldn't build my future while obsessing over Cameron's punishment. Maybe my mother was right. Maybe the best revenge wasn't making Cameron pay. Maybe it was building a life so good, he'd regret what he'd lost. Sunday afternoon I called Grace. I want to counter their offer, I said. 80-20 split. Full asset disclosure with penalties if anything else is hidden. Complete intellectual property rights to all my designs. A public apology. And a clause that Cameron cannot speak negatively about me to anyone, professional or personal, or the settlement is void. Those are tough terms, Grace said. They might not agree. Then we go to trial. But Grace, I don't want to drag this out for years. I want to move on with my life. If they agree to these terms, I'll drop the push for criminal charges. Let me make the call. She called back 2 hours later. They agreed to everything. 80-20 full disclosure, IP rights, public apology, and a comprehensive non-disparagement clause. They'll draft the settlement agreement tomorrow. Naomi, this is one of the best divorce settlements I've ever seen. When can we sign? Probably by end of week if their lawyers move fast. They want this done. So do I. That evening, I stood at the window of my hotel room, watching the city lights flicker on as the sun set. The world looked different now. Sharper. Clear. Like I'd been seeing through dirty glass for 3 years and someone had finally cleaned it. Cameron had tried to break me. He tried to take everything. My dignity, my money, my work, my future. But he'd failed. I was still standing. I was still fighting. And I was winning. Not the way I'd originally imagined. Not with Cameron in handcuffs or publicly humiliated. But in a way that mattered more. I was free. I was financially secure. I had my career, my reputation, my self-respect. Julian texted, I heard you're settling. Good choice. You deserve peace. Thank you. For everything. I couldn't have done this without you. You would have. You're stronger than you know. But I'm glad I could help. Then he sent another message. When this is all over, when you've had time to heal, I'd like to take you to dinner. As friends. Or maybe something more if you're interested. No pressure. Just, I want you to know I see you, Naomi. The real you. And I think you're remarkable. I stared at that message for a long time. Julian. Kind, honest Julian who had risked his friendship with Cameron to help me. Who had seen my pain and chosen my side. Who made me feel seen in a way Cameron never had. Was I ready for that? Maybe not now. But someday? I typed back, I'd like that. Not yet. But someday. When I'm ready to trust again. I'll wait, he replied. However long it takes. I smiled at my phone. The first real smile in days. Maybe there was hope for the future after all. Not the future I'd planned with Cameron, but something different. Something better. Something real. The settlement agreement arrived on Wednesday. Grace and I reviewed every line in her office, her red pen marking notes as we went through page after page of legal language. This is solid, she said finally. They've agreed to everything. Asset disclosure is comprehensive. The non-disparagement clause is ironclad. 80-20 split, calculated on the full value of assets including the offshore accounts. Naomi, you're going to walk away with almost $12 million plus your firm and intellectual property. $12 million. It was an absurd amount of money. More than I'd ever imagined having. But it felt less like winning the lottery and more like being compensated for theft. What about the public apology? Grace flipped to page 15. Right here. Cameron agrees to release a statement acknowledging that the divorce is due to his infidelity and breach of marital trust. It will be posted to his company's website and his social media. Not detailed, but enough that the narrative isn't controlled by him. When do we sign? Friday. In person, both parties present. It's unusual, but his lawyers agreed. I think they want this done face to face so there's no backing out. Friday couldn't come fast enough and came too fast at the same time. I didn't want to see Cameron, didn't want to be in the same room as him. But I also wanted this over, wanted the final signature that would free me. Grace picked me up at my hotel Friday morning. I wore a royal blue dress, professional and expensive. Cameron always said blue washed me out. He was wrong about that too. The meeting was at a conference room in Grace's law firm. Neutral territory. When we arrived, Cameron was already there with his 3 lawyers, all in dark suits, all looking grim. Cameron looked worse than I'd ever seen him. His suit was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man who'd lost everything, and I felt nothing. No pity. No satisfaction. Just a distant sort of observation. Mrs. Bennet, one of his lawyers, stood. Thank you for coming. Shall we begin? We sat on opposite sides of the long table. Grace beside me, Cameron's legal team beside him. Papers were spread out between us, the physical manifestation of our marriage's end. The head lawyer, a severe woman named Mrs. Crawford, went through the terms. Asset division, property rights, intellectual property, spousal support. Each section signed, initialed, witnessed. Cameron didn't speak. He just signed where he was told, his hand shaking slightly. At one point he looked up at me, his eyes pleading. I looked away. When we got to the public apology section, Mrs. Crawford cleared her throat. Mr. Bennet will post the agreed-upon statement by end of business today. I want to see it first, Grace said. Before it's posted. They handed over a printed copy. The statement was brief, professional, and most importantly, true. I, Cameron Bennet, announced the dissolution of my marriage to Naomi Stevens Bennet. This divorce is the result of my infidelity and betrayal of marital trust. Naomi is a woman of integrity and talent, and she deserves happiness and respect. I wish her well in her future endeavors. This is acceptable, Grace said. More signatures. More initials. More pages turned and filed and witnessed. The death of a marriage documented in triplicate. Finally it was done. Mrs. Crawford stood. The settlement is now binding. Asset transfers will begin immediately. Mrs. Bennet, or I suppose Miss Stevens now, you should see the first transfers within 48 hours. Thank you, Grace said formally. We all stood to leave. Cameron tried to approach me, but Grace stepped between us smoothly. No contact, she reminded him. That's in the agreement. I just want to say I'm sorry, Cameron said, his voice breaking. Naomi, please. I made a terrible mistake. I was stupid and selfish, and I lost everything that mattered. I looked at him, then really looked at him. The man I'd married 3 years ago. The man I thought I'd spend my life with. He looked small now, diminished, desperate. You're right, I said quietly. You did lose everything that mattered. But Cameron, you didn't lose it. You threw it away. There's a difference. I walked out of the conference room, Grace beside me. Behind us, I heard Cameron's lawyers trying to quiet him, get him out of the building. I didn't look back. In the elevator, Grace grinned at me. That was perfect. Cold, composed, devastating. You're my hero. I laughed, surprising myself. I just wanted it over. Well, it's over. You're officially divorced. How does it feel? Lighter, I said. Like I've been carrying something heavy and finally got to put it down. We went to lunch to celebrate, a bright bistro with green walls and good wine. Grace ordered champagne despite it being noon. To freedom, she toasted. To freedom, I echoed. My phone buzzed constantly throughout lunch. The settlement had leaked somehow. People were texting, calling, emailing. Some were congratulatory. Some were nosy. Some were Cameron's friends, angry that I'd ruined him. I blocked the angry ones and responded politely to the nice ones. Yes, the divorce was final. Yes, I was doing well. No, I didn't want to discuss details. Julian texted, congratulations. You did it? Want to grab coffee this week? Just as friends? Yes, I replied. I'd like that. That evening, Cameron's statement appeared on his company website and social media. Within hours, it was everywhere. News sites picked it up. Social media dissected it. People took sides, argued about it, speculated about details. I didn't read the comments. I didn't need to. The truth was out there now in Cameron's own words. I didn't need to defend myself or explain anything. He'd done it for me. Saturday morning my mother called. Baby, I saw the news. How are you holding up? I'm okay, Mom. Really? It's over. I can start moving on now. What about that young man? Julian? The one who helped you. We're getting coffee this week. Just coffee? Her tone was knowing, slightly teasing. Yes, just coffee. I'm not ready for anything more. I need time to figure out who I am outside of being Cameron's wife. That's wise. But Naomi? Don't close yourself off completely. Not every man is like Cameron. Some of them are good. I know, Mom. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and looked at my architecture firm's website. It still listed me as part of Bennett and Associates, Cameron's company. That needed to change. I spent the weekend rebranding. Naomi Stevens Architecture. Clean, simple, mine. I updated my website, my portfolio, my business cards. By Sunday evening, every reference to Cameron's company was gone. I was my own entity now, professionally and personally. The development firm that wanted to hire me called Monday morning. We saw the settlement news. Are you still available for our project? Absolutely, I said. When do we start? Next week. We're excited to work with you, Miss Stevens. Miss Stevens. Not Mrs. Bennett. The name felt right, felt like coming home to myself. Tuesday, I met Julian for coffee at the same place we'd met weeks ago. He looked good, relaxed in jeans and a green sweater. This was the first time I'd seen him in casual clothes. He looked younger, less like a serious banker. How does it feel? He asked when we sat down. Being officially free? Strange. Good but strange. I keep expecting to feel different, but I just feel like me. Just less heavy. That's good. You shouldn't have to feel different. You should just feel like yourself without someone weighing you down. We talked for an hour. About work, about his job, about nothing important. It was nice. Easy. Comfortable in a way my conversations with Cameron never were. I didn't have to perform or impress or be anyone other than who I was. Can I ask you something? Julian said as we were getting ready to leave. Why did you settle instead of pushing for criminal charges? I'm not judging, I'm just curious. I thought about how to answer. Because I realized that making Cameron pay legally wouldn't make me happy. It would just keep me tied to him, keep me angry, keep me stuck in the past. I want to build a future, not keep fighting about the past. That's mature, Julian said. And smart. Cameron's paying anyway. His reputation is damaged. His business partners are distancing themselves. Simone left him when she realized he was broke by his standards. He's facing consequences, just not criminal ones. Simone left him? As soon as the settlement amounts became public, she realized he wasn't the unlimited money source she thought he was. She's already dating someone else, some older guy in finance. Cameron's devastated. I should have felt satisfaction at that, but I just felt sad. Not for Cameron, but for all of us. All the wasted time, wasted emotion, wasted potential. He deserves better than Simone, I said. But he doesn't deserve me either. Maybe someday he'll figure out how to be honest. But that's not my problem anymore. No, Julian agreed. It's not. You're free to focus on yourself now. Speaking of which, I saw the news about your new project. Congratulations. That's a huge contract. Thank you. I'm excited about it. It's the kind of work I've always wanted to do. Sustainable, community-focused, beautiful. And it's all mine. Cameron has no part of it. That's how it should be. Your talent was never his. We left the coffee shop and stood on the sidewalk, the afternoon sun bright overhead. Julian looked like he wanted to say something but wasn't sure if he should. What? I prompted. I was just thinking, he said carefully, that I'd like to do this again. The coffee, the talking. If you want. No pressure, no expectations. Just, I enjoy your company. I enjoy yours too, I admitted. But Julian, I need you to understand something. I'm not ready for dating. I'm not ready for romance. I might not be for a long time. I know. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking to be your friend. To be someone who makes you smile occasionally. And maybe someday if you're ever ready for more, I'd like to be considered. But if not, friendship is enough. I studied his face, looking for dishonesty or hidden agenda. I found neither. Just sincerity and patience. Okay, I said. Let's be friends. Friends? He agreed, holding out his hand to shake. I took it and we both laughed at the formality. As I walked back to my hotel, my phone buzzed with an email. My first payment from the settlement had arrived. The number in my bank account made me stop walking and stare at the screen. It was real. It was over. I was free and financially secure and professionally independent. For the first time since that horrible dinner at the Bennett mansion, I felt genuinely happy. Not because Cameron was suffering, though he was. Not because I'd won the settlement, though I had. But because I'd found myself again. The part of me that had gotten lost in trying to be a good wife, trying to fit into Cameron's world, trying to be enough for someone who was never going to appreciate me. I was enough. I'd always been enough. And now I had a chance to build a life that proved it. The future was mine. And it was going to be beautiful. Despite the signed agreement, the battle wasn't quite over. Cameron's lawyers found one more way to make trouble. Wednesday morning, Grace called me with frustration in her voice. Cameron's trying to delay the asset transfers. His lawyers are claiming they need more time to liquidate certain accounts. It's a stalling tactic. Can he do that? Not legally. The agreement specifies immediate transfer. I'm filing a motion to compel compliance. We'll probably need to go before a judge, but it'll be quick. They have no grounds to delay. The hearing was scheduled for Friday afternoon. I showed up in my red dress, the color of confidence and anger combined. Cameron was there with his reduced legal team. Just Mrs. Crawford now. Apparently he couldn't afford 3 lawyers anymore. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s who looked thoroughly unimpressed with both parties. Mr. Bennett, she said after reviewing the settlement agreement. This document is very clear. Asset transfers begin immediately upon signing. That was 4 days ago. Why haven't you complied? Mrs. Crawford stood. Your Honor, my client needs time to liquidate certain holdings without taking substantial losses. That's not what the agreement says, the judge replied sharply. The agreement says immediately. It doesn't say, at Mr. Bennett's convenience. It doesn't say, when market conditions are favorable. It says immediately. Your Honor, if I may. You may not. The agreement is binding. Mr. Bennett, you have 48 hours to complete all asset transfers as specified. If you fail to comply, Ms. Stevens is entitled to additional penalties as outlined in the agreement. Do you understand? Cameron stood, his face pale. Yes, Your Honor. Good. This court orders full compliance within 48 hours. Next case. We walked out of the courthouse into bright afternoon sunlight. Grace was practically skipping. Did you see his face? He thought he could drag this out, make it difficult. The judge shut that down in about 2 minutes. Why is he doing this? I asked. He signed the agreement. Why fight now? Because he's realizing what he lost. Not just the money, Naomi. His reputation. His comfortable life. He thought signing papers would feel different than it does. Now reality is setting in and he's panicking. My phone rang. Julian. I heard about the hearing. Congratulations. You heard already? Cameron called me. He's falling apart. Asking if I'll talk to you, see if you'll agree to a smaller settlement. I told him no. Good. He's desperate. His business partners are pulling out of deals. Simone is publicly dating her new wealthy boyfriend. His parents are furious with him. Everything's crumbling. I can't feel sorry for him, I said. He built this disaster himself. You shouldn't feel sorry for him. Just be aware that desperate people do stupid things. Stay alert. That should have been my warning. But I was too focused on my new project, my new life, to worry about Cameron's desperation. Monday morning, the final asset transfers completed. $12 million appeared in my account, along with deed transfers for properties and full rights to all my architectural work. It was done. Completely, totally done. I celebrated by signing the lease on a beautiful apartment with huge windows overlooking the city. I celebrated by accepting the development contract that would make my career. I celebrated by taking my mother to an expensive dinner where we toasted my freedom. But Cameron wasn't done fighting. Tuesday evening, I got a call from a reporter. Miss Stevens, I'm working on a story about your divorce from Cameron Bennett. Would you like to comment on allegations that you married him for his money? My blood went cold. What allegations? Mr. Bennett has released a statement claiming the divorce was initiated by you as a money grab, that you never loved him and targeted him for his wealth. He's provided emails he claims show you discussing his finances with friends before you got married. I hung up without responding and immediately called Grace. He's violating the non-disparagement clause, she said after I explained. Where did this reporter get those emails? I don't know. I never sent any emails like that. Grace, I didn't marry Cameron for money. You know that. I know. But can he manufacture evidence? Fake emails? Let me call his lawyers. An hour later, Grace called back. His lawyers claim they don't know anything about it. They say Cameron must have sent the statement and emails independently. They're trying to distance themselves from it. What do? We invoke the settlement clause. Cameron violated the non-disparagement agreement. That means the settlement is void and we go back to court. And this time we're adding defamation to the charges. We're also pushing for the criminal charges we agreed to drop. He threw away the settlement for this? Desperate people do stupid things, Grace said, echoing Julian's warning. He couldn't handle losing, so he's trying to rewrite the narrative. But he just made everything worse for himself. Wednesday morning, Grace filed an emergency motion declaring Cameron in breach of contract. We demanded restoration of all settlement terms plus additional damages for defamation. We also notified the district attorney about the financial fraud evidence we'd been sitting on. By Wednesday afternoon, the story had exploded. Cameron's statement was public. So were the supposedly damning emails. But internet investigators were already pointing out inconsistencies in the emails. Wrong email format. Metadata showing they were created recently, not years ago. Clear evidence of forgery. Cameron had made fake emails and thought no one would check. He'd gotten sloppy in his desperation. Thursday his lawyers dropped him. Mrs. Crawford released a statement that their firm no longer represented Cameron Bennett due to his independent actions violating their legal advice. They were done. Friday, Cameron showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called me. "Miss Stevens, there's a Mr. Bennett here demanding to see you. Should I call the police?" "No," I said, surprising myself. "Tell him I'll come down to the lobby." I took the elevator down, my heart pounding. What was Cameron thinking? What did he possibly have to say? He was standing by the lobby windows looking out at the street. He'd lost weight. His expensive clothes hung wrong. He looked like a ghost of the man I'd married. "Naomi?" He turned when he heard me approach. "Thank God. I need to talk to you." "You violated the settlement agreement," I said, keeping my distance. "You released fake emails. You defamed me publicly. What could you possibly have to say?" "I made a mistake. I was angry and stupid and I made everything worse. But please, you have to believe me, I never meant for any of this to happen. I loved you. I still love you." "You don't love me, Cameron. You never did. You loved having me. You loved what I represented. But you never loved me." "That's not true." "It is. And you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. You're facing criminal charges now. The settlement is void. You're going to court for fraud, for defamation, for violating a court order. You did this to yourself." "Please," he grabbed my arm. Not hard, but I pulled away immediately. "Please, Naomi. We can fix this. We can start over. I'll do better. I'll be honest. I'll give you everything. You had your chance to give me everything. You chose to give me nothing. Now you're giving me justice instead. That's actually better. I'm going to lose everything." "Yes, you are. Because you threw it all away for an affair with a woman who didn't even really want you, just your money. Because you committed fraud. Because you lied and cheated and manipulated. These are consequences, Cameron. This is what happens when you treat people like they're disposable." I was wrong. Tears were running down his face now. "I was wrong about everything. Please, don't destroy me." "I'm not destroying you," I said quietly. "You destroyed yourself. I'm just refusing to save you from the consequences. There's a difference." I walked away from him, back to the elevator. He didn't follow. The doorman had called security just in case, but Cameron just stood there in the lobby, crying. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of Cameron's drama. Tired of being pulled back into his chaos. That evening, Julian came over to check on me. I led him up to my new apartment, showed him the space I was slowly making my own. "How are you?" he asked, settling on my blue couch. "I'm okay. Tired. Ready for this to be over. It will be soon. Cameron's out of moves. He's fired his lawyers, he's broke, he's facing criminal charges. His business is collapsing. It's over for him. Why did he do it? Why fake those emails and violate the settlement? He had a way out. Because men like Cameron can't accept losing. He wanted to control the narrative. He wanted everyone to think you were the problem, not him. He wanted to save face even if it cost him everything else. It's pride. Stupid, destructive pride." We sat in silence for a while, watching the city lights come on as evening fell. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said eventually. "When this is really over, when Cameron is in jail or bankrupt or whatever happens to him, when you're free of all of this, what do you want?" I thought about that question. What did I want? "I want to build beautiful things," I said slowly. I want my architecture firm to create spaces that make people happy, that solve problems that matter. I want to wake up every morning excited about my work. I want friends I trust. I want honesty in my life. And maybe, someday, I want to trust someone enough to let them close again. That's a good list, Julian said softly. Those are all possible things. All achievable things. Are they? Yes. Because you're strong enough to make them happen. You're already doing it. Your firm, your project, your independence. You're building the life you want. The rest will follow. He was right. I was already building my future. And it looked nothing like the life I'd had with Cameron. It looked better. Thank you, I said. For everything. For the evidence, for the support, for being honest when Cameron wasn't. I don't think I could have gotten through this without you. You would have, Julian said. But I'm glad I could help. And Naomi? I meant what I said about being your friend. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, I'm here. I know. That means more than you realize. After he left, I stood at my apartment windows looking out at the city. Somewhere down there, Cameron was probably panicking, trying to figure out how to fix his disaster. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had my own life to live. My own future to build. And for the first time in years, that future looked bright. The legal battle that followed was swift and decisive. Cameron, now without representation, tried to defend himself in court. It went poorly. The hearing for contract breach and defamation took place 3 weeks later. Grace presented the forged emails, complete with forensic analysis showing they were created days before Cameron released them. She presented evidence of Cameron's public statements, all of which violated the non-disparagement clause. She presented his violation of the court order to complete asset transfers. Cameron sat alone at the defendant's table, trying to argue that he'd been under emotional distress, that he hadn't meant to violate anything, that he deserved another chance. The judge was unimpressed. Mr. Bennett, you signed a legally binding agreement. You then deliberately violated that agreement by creating false evidence and defaming your ex-wife publicly. Your emotional state is not a legal defense for fraud and defamation. Your Honor, I didn't understand what I was signing, Cameron tried. You had 3 lawyers advising you. You're a businessman who signs contracts regularly. You understood perfectly well. The settlement agreement is void due to your breach. We're reverting to the original divorce terms, which means full discovery and trial. Cameron went pale. No, please. I'll comply. I'll do whatever she wants. That's not how this works, the judge said coldly. You don't get to violate a settlement and then claim you'll comply when you face consequences. Ms. Wu, what is your client seeking? Grace stood. Full enforcement of the original settlement terms, plus additional damages for defamation. We're also requesting that the criminal complaint for fraud be referred to the district attorney's office. Granted on all counts. Mr. Bennett, you have 30 days to pay the full settlement amount plus an additional $2 million in punitive damages for your defamation and breach of contract. Failure to comply will result in asset seizure and potential criminal charges. This court also refers your financial fraud to the district attorney for investigation. Cameron started to argue, but the judge cut him off. You're dismissed. And Mr. Bennett? Get a lawyer. A good one. You're going to need it. We left the courthouse with everything we'd wanted and more. Grace was elated. $14 million total now, plus the intellectual property rights, plus potential criminal consequences for him. Naomi, you won. Completely. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt relieved. It was done. Really truly done. The news spread fast. Cameron Bennett, once a respected real estate mogul, was now facing financial ruin and potential criminal charges. His company was being investigated. His business partners were suing him. Everything was falling apart. Simone, predictably, disappeared from his life entirely. Her new boyfriend, a hedge fund manager, had already proposed. She posted engagement photos on social media, not a single mention of Cameron anywhere. She'd moved on like he never existed. His parents called me once more. I actually answered this time. Naomi, please? Andrea's voice was desperate now, not condescending. You have to stop this. Cameron is falling apart. He's lost everything. He did this to himself, Andrea. I didn't force him to have an affair. I didn't force him to hide money. I didn't force him to create fake emails. Those were all his choices. But he's our son. We're losing our house because of his business debts. Can't you show some compassion? I showed Cameron compassion for 3 years while he lied to me. I showed him trust while he betrayed me. I showed him love while he planned my humiliation. I'm done showing compassion to people who don't deserve it. You enabled him. You knew about the affair and said nothing. You sat at that dinner table and let him humiliate me. These are your consequences too. I hung up and blocked their numbers. I was done with the Bennett family. A week later, the district attorney's office announced they were prosecuting Cameron for fraud. The evidence was overwhelming. He'd stolen marital assets, hidden money, created fraudulent business contracts. He was looking at 5 to 10 years if convicted. Will he actually go to jail? I asked Grace when she called with the news. Probably not. He'll plea bargain, get probation, community service, fines. Rich men rarely go to jail for financial crimes. But he'll be a convicted felon. His business career is over. His reputation is destroyed. He'll spend the rest of his life trying to rebuild from nothing. That should have felt good. It just felt sad. All that potential, all that promise, wasted because Cameron couldn't be faithful and honest. But my sadness didn't last long. Because the same day Cameron's indictment was announced, my architecture project won a major award. The Sustainable Housing Design Award, given by a national architecture organization. My work was being recognized. The award ceremony was in a beautiful hotel ballroom with bright lights and blue decorations. I wore a green dress and felt genuinely happy for the first time in months. Julian came as my guest. Not as a date, just as a friend. But having him there felt right. He'd been part of this journey, part of my survival. It felt appropriate that he'd be part of my victory too. I'm proud of you, he said as we sat at our table, waiting for the ceremony to begin. Not just for surviving Cameron. For thriving despite him. You're doing incredible work. Thank you. And thank you for being here. I wouldn't miss it. When my name was called, I walked to the stage to accept the award. Looking out at the audience, I saw my mother, tears streaming down her face. Grace grinning broadly. Julian clapping enthusiastically. I saw colleagues, other architects, people I respected. I saw my future, full of possibility and potential. Thank you, I said into the microphone. This award means everything to me. Sustainable housing is my passion. Creating spaces where families can thrive, where communities can grow, where people can feel safe and valued. That's what I want my career to be about. Building foundations literally and figuratively. And I'm grateful to everyone who believed in me and my vision. The applause was warm, genuine. I walked off the stage with my award, with my head high, with my future bright. The after-party was full of networking and congratulations. Firms wanted to hire me. Clients wanted my designs. Journalists wanted interviews. I was in demand, respected, successful. And none of it had anything to do with Cameron. Late in the evening, I stepped out onto the hotel balcony for air. The city spread below me, lights twinkling in the darkness. Julian followed me out, handing me a glass of champagne. To new beginnings, he toasted. To new beginnings, I echoed. Can I tell you something? He asked after we drank. I've been waiting for the right moment, but there might not be a perfect time, so I'm just going to say it. My heart sped up. Okay. I meant what I said about being your friend. I meant what I said about waiting. But Naomi, I need you to know that when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I want to be more than your friend. I've watched you be strong and brave and brilliant. I've seen you at your lowest and watched you rise. And I've fallen for you. Completely. Thoroughly. Permanently. I looked at him, this man who had stood by me when my world collapsed. This honest, kind, patient man who asked for nothing but gave everything. I'm scared, I admitted. I'm scared to trust again. Scared to let someone close. What if I make the same mistake? You won't, Julian said gently. Because Cameron was the mistake, not you. You didn't fail at marriage. You failed at being a decent human. And Naomi, I'm not Cameron. I won't lie to you. I won't cheat. I won't hide who I am or what I want. I'm just me. Flawed, imperfect, but honest. Always honest. I believe you, I said. And I did. But I need more time. I need to be sure I'm choosing you because I want you, not because I'm lonely or hurt or trying to prove something. Then take the time, Julian said. I'll be here. Whenever you're ready. However long it takes. I smiled at him, feeling something warm unfold in my chest. Hope maybe. Or possibility. Ask me again in 6 months, I said. When I've had time to really be alone, to really be just me. When I know who I am outside of being someone's wife or someone's victim. Ask me then. I will, he promised. 6 months. I'll wait. We went back inside to the party, to the celebration, to the future. And for the first time since that horrible dinner at the Bennett mansion, I felt genuinely excited about what came next. Not because Cameron was defeated, though he was. Not because I'd won, though I had. but because I'd found myself again. The part of me that got lost in trying to please someone who couldn't be pleased, in trying to be enough for someone who would never appreciate me. I was enough. I'd always been enough. And now I had the freedom and the confidence to build exactly the life I wanted. Whatever that life looked like, whoever it included, it was going to be mine. Truly, completely mine. And that was the best victory of all. 6 months passed like water flowing downhill, inevitable and cleansing. I threw myself into work, into building my architecture firm into something substantial. Naomi Stevens Architecture became known for sustainable, beautiful, community-focused designs. I hired 3 associates, moved into a proper office space with windows that let in bright natural light. The development project that had won me the award was completed. A sustainable housing community for low-income families, designed with solar panels, community gardens, and shared spaces that encouraged neighborhood connection. It was beautiful. It was functional. It was mine. The day we opened it, I stood in the central courtyard watching families move into their new homes. Children running around. Parents chatting. People building community in a space I'd designed. This, I thought, is what success feels like. My mother came to the opening ceremony, proudly taking photos of every detail. Grace came too, now not just my lawyer but one of my closest friends. She'd started dating someone herself, a professor she met at a conference. She was happy. Julian came to the opening too. We'd seen each other regularly over the past 6 months, always as friends. Coffee every week. Dinner sometimes. Museum visits. Long walks through the city. We talked about everything and nothing. He never pushed, never demanded more than I was ready to give. He was patient in a way Cameron never had been. Cameron always wanted results, outcomes, immediate gratification. Julian was content to just be present. But as the 6-month mark approached, I felt something shifting inside me. The wounds Cameron had inflicted were healing. I could think about my marriage without feeling angry or hurt. It was just something that happened, a chapter that ended, a lesson learned. I was ready to start a new chapter. 2 days after the opening ceremony, Julian and I met for our usual coffee. The same bright cafe where we'd met that first time, where he'd shown me evidence of Cameron's betrayal. So much had changed since then. 6 months, Julian said as we sat down. You told me to ask again in 6 months. I did say that, I acknowledged, smiling. So I'm asking. Naomi Stevens, would you like to go on an actual date with me? Not as friends. As 2 people who are interested in each other, who want to see if there's something worth building together. I looked at this man who had been my friend, my ally, my constant support. This kind, honest, patient man who saw me clearly and liked what he saw. Yes, I said simply. I would like that very much. The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise. Really? Really? I'm ready, Julian. I'm ready to trust again. I'm ready to try again. And I'm ready to see what we could be together. Our first official date was dinner at a restaurant with yellow walls and live music. We dressed up, acted like it was brand new even though we knew each other so well. It was sweet, slightly awkward, absolutely perfect. This is strange, I said halfway through dinner, laughing. We've had meals together dozens of times. Why does this feel different? Because it is different, Julian said. Before I was just hoping. Now I know you're here because you want to be. That changes everything. He was right. The dynamic had shifted. There was anticipation now, possibility, a future that hadn't existed before. We took things slow. No rushing. No pressure. Just steady, careful building of something real. Julian was thoughtful in ways Cameron never had been. He remembered what I liked, asked about my projects, actually listened when I talked. He didn't try to control or manage or fix me. He just appreciated me. 3 months into dating, he met my mother officially. Not as my friend but as the man I was seeing. Beverly loved him immediately. This one, she whispered to me in the kitchen while Julian talked with her neighbor in the living room. This one is good. Keep him. I'm trying, I said, smiling. Don't try. Just let it happen naturally. You've been through hell. You deserve heaven now. Let yourself have it. I was learning to do that. Let myself be happy without waiting for disaster. Let myself trust without expecting betrayal. It was harder than it sounded, but Julian made it easier. He was consistent, reliable, honest. He did what he said he'd do. He showed up when he said he'd show up. Simple things. Basic things. Things that should have been the minimum but felt like miracles after Cameron. Meanwhile, Cameron's life continued its downward spiral. He pleaded guilty to fraud charges and got 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and substantial fines. His real estate company declared bankruptcy. His parents' house was sold to pay debts. He moved into a small apartment, took a job as a regular real estate agent working for someone else. I heard all this through the grapevine, through mutual acquaintances who thought I'd want to know. I didn't really. Cameron's downfall gave me no joy. It was just confirmation that actions have consequences. Simone married her hedge fund manager in a lavish ceremony I saw photos of on social media. She looked happy. He looked rich. Maybe they deserved each other, or maybe she'd actually found what she wanted. Either way, it wasn't my concern. 6 months into dating Julian, he asked me to move in with him. Not to rush anything, just because we spent so much time together anyway. His apartment was bigger than mine, had better light for my design work, was closer to my office. I said yes. Moving in felt natural, easy. We fell into a rhythm quickly. Morning coffee together. Evenings discussing our days. Weekends exploring the city or staying in, just being together. It was comfortable without being boring. Stable without being stagnant. Is this what it's supposed to feel like? I asked him one evening. We were on his balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. What do you mean? Relationships. Marriage. Is it supposed to be this easy? This comfortable? With Cameron, everything was effort. I was always trying to be enough, do enough, impress enough. With you I can just be. That's exactly what it's supposed to feel like, Julian said, pulling me closer. Love isn't supposed to be hard work. It's supposed to be a partnership. Two people who make each other's lives better just by being in them. I wish I'd known that before, I said quietly. You know it now. That's what matters. A year after my divorce was finalized, I got an unexpected letter. From Cameron. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. I opened it carefully, prepared for anger or manipulation or more lies. Instead, I found an apology. A real one. Naomi, it began. I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need to say I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not for getting caught. Not for losing my money or my reputation. For hurting you. For betraying you. For taking your trust and destroying it. You deserved better than I gave you. You deserved honesty and loyalty and respect. You deserved love. I couldn't give you those things because I didn't understand their value. I do now. It's too late, and that's my fault. But I want you to know that watching you build your life, watching you succeed and thrive, has taught me what I threw away. You're remarkable. You always were. I was just too selfish to see it. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who appreciates what I couldn't. You deserve every good thing. With genuine regret, Cameron. I read the letter twice, then showed it to Julian. How do you feel about it? He asked after reading. Surprised. Sounds genuine. But it doesn't change anything. He hurt me. He stole from me. He tried to destroy my reputation. An apology doesn't undo any of that. No, it doesn't. But it's something. Growth maybe. Understanding of what he lost. Too late for him, I said. But I'm glad he finally understands. Maybe his next relationship will be better. If there is one, Julian said. From what I hear, he's focused on rebuilding his career. Living small, working hard, trying to pay back his debts. It's humbling, but maybe that's what he needed. I filed the letter away and didn't think about it again. Cameron was my past. Julian was my present. My work was my future. That was enough. One evening, 18 months after our first date, Julian cooked dinner at home. A special meal, my favorites. Candles on the table despite it not being a special occasion. What's all this? I asked, settling into my chair. Just felt like doing something nice, he said, serving the food. We ate and talked about our days. Normal conversation. Comfortable silence. Then, after dessert, Julian stood up and came around the table. He knelt beside my chair. My heart stopped. Naomi Stevens, he said, pulling out a small blue box. You're the strongest, most talented, most remarkable woman I've ever known. You survived hell and came out shining. You built a career that matters. You have integrity and courage and kindness. I love you. I love your mind. I love your heart. I love your ridiculous insistence on putting hot sauce on everything. I love who you are when you think no one is watching. I love you completely. Will you marry me? The ring was beautiful. Simple, elegant, perfect. But more than the ring, more than the proposal, was the man offering it. This honest, patient, kind man who had stood by me through my darkest time and celebrated every victory since. Yes, I said through tears. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me. It felt like coming home and starting an adventure at the same time. It felt right in a way nothing with Cameron ever had. I promise you, Julian said, holding my hands. I will never lie to you. I will never betray you. I will never make you doubt your worth. I will be your partner, your equal, your support. I will love you honestly and openly for as long as you'll let me. Forever, I said. I'll let you forever. We called my mother, who cried happy tears. We called Grace, who screamed congratulations into the phone. We told friends and colleagues. Everyone was genuinely happy for us. No one mentioned Cameron. He was irrelevant now, a footnote in my story. Not the main character he'd thought he was. That night, lying in bed with my engagement ring catching the moonlight, I thought about how far I'd come. From that horrible dinner where Cameron announced his betrayal, to this moment of genuine love and commitment. I'd survived. I'd thrived. I'd rebuilt my life into something better than it had been before. And now I was starting a new chapter with a man who valued me, respected me, loved me truly. Thank you, I whispered to Julian, who was half asleep beside me. For what? For seeing me. For choosing me. For being you. Always, he mumbled, pulling me closer. Always. I closed my eyes and smiled. My future was bright. My present was happy. My past was healed. This, I thought, is what victory really looks like. Not Cameron's downfall. Not revenge. Not vindication. Just peace. Just love. Just a good life, honestly built with someone who deserved to share it. And that was more than enough. 1 year later, I stood in another hotel ballroom. But this time, I wasn't accepting an award. I was celebrating my architecture firm's biggest achievement yet. Naomi Stevens Architecture had just been contracted to design an entire neighborhood. A sustainable, community-focused development that would house 300 families. It was the project of my career, the work I'd always dreamed of doing. The launch party was elegant without being ostentatious. Bright lights, green and blue decorations, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Colleagues, clients, friends and family filled the space. Julian was beside me, my husband now. We'd married 6 months ago in a simple ceremony with close friends and family. No elaborate production. No social pressure. Just two people who loved each other making a commitment in front of the people who mattered. Our wedding day had been perfect. Bright sunshine, my mother crying happy tears, Grace as my maid of honor, genuine joy all around. Everything my first wedding hadn't been. You look happy, Julian said now, handing me a glass of champagne. I'm happy. This project, this firm, this life. It's everything I wanted. You built it, he said proudly. From nothing. After everything Cameron put you through, you built this incredible career. I'm in awe of you. I kissed him, grateful for his support, his belief in me. We'd been married for 6 months and together for 2 years, and every day was better than the last. We had our disagreements, our challenges, but we faced them together. Honestly. Openly. As partners. The party was in full swing when I noticed a commotion near the entrance. Security was talking to someone, gesturing that they needed to leave. I moved closer to see what was happening. Cameron. He looked different. Older, thinner, wearing a regular suit instead of his usual expensive designer wear. His hair was graying at the temples. He looked like what he was now, a regular person struggling to rebuild a life. I just want to give her something, I heard him say to security. Just 1 minute. Please. Julian appeared beside me. Want me to handle this? I thought about it. I could have security remove him. I could ignore him. I could pretend he didn't exist. But maybe closure required facing him one last time. No, I said. I'll talk to him. Just for a minute. Julian nodded, staying close but giving me space. I walked over to Cameron and the security guard. It's okay, I told security. I'll talk to him. We stepped outside onto the balcony away from the party. The evening air was cool, the city lights bright below. What are you doing here, Cameron? I saw the announcement about your project. I wanted to congratulate you. I know I have no right to be here, no right to talk to you. But I needed to tell you I'm proud of you. This is incredible work. Thank you. But you could have sent a card. I could have, he agreed. But I also wanted to give you this. He pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to me. I opened it carefully. Inside was a check. Made out to my architecture firm for $50,000. What is this? It's what I owe you, Cameron said quietly. Not financially. The settlement covered that. But morally. You designed the Riverside project. I used your work to build my reputation. That project made me millions before everything fell apart. This is your share. It's not enough, but it's what I can afford right now. I stared at the check, genuinely shocked. Cameron, I don't need this. The settlement was more than fair. I know. But I need to give it to you. I need to make things right even in this small way. Please, let me have this one piece of integrity. I looked at him clearly. Really looked at him. He wasn't the arrogant man who'd announced an open marriage at his parents' dinner table. He wasn't the desperate man who'd tried to defame me when he lost. He was just a person. Flawed, humbled, trying to be better. What happened to you? I asked. To make you change? I lost everything, he said simply. My money, my reputation, my family. Simone. I had to rebuild from nothing. And when you're starting from zero, you have time to think about who you were and who you want to be. I was terrible, Naomi. Selfish and cruel and dishonest. I treated you like property instead of a partner. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was too stupid to recognize what I had. Yes, you did, I agreed. No softening it, no making it easier. You destroyed our marriage. You stole from me. You tried to ruin my reputation. I know. And I've been working to be better. To be the kind of person who deserves good things instead of someone who destroys them. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I understand now. What I lost. What I threw away. I folded the check and put it back in the envelope. I'll donate this to a housing charity. In your name. Maybe some good can come from it. Thank you. That's more grace than I deserve. Probably, I said honestly. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because I don't want to carry anger anymore. You hurt me. You damaged me. But I healed. And I'm not going to let you rent space in my head anymore. Cameron nodded, accepting that. You look happy. Really happy. The man inside your husband. Julian. He's a good man. He is. He's everything you weren't. Honest, loyal, supportive. He's my partner in a way you never were. Good. You deserve that. You always did. Cameron looked out at the city, his expression sad. I heard Simone got divorced already. Turns out she was cheating on her husband with someone even richer. She never changes. Neither did you until you lost everything, I pointed out. Fair. I guess rock bottom is a good teacher. We stood in silence for a moment. This man I'd loved, had married, had divorced. He felt like a stranger now. Someone I used to know in another life. I should go, Cameron said finally. Thank you for talking to me. And Naomi? Your work is incredible. This new project is going to change lives. That's what you always wanted, right? To make a difference. Yes. And I'm doing it. On my own terms. As it should be. Goodbye, Naomi. Goodbye, Cameron. He walked away, disappearing into the evening. I watched him go, feeling nothing but a distant sort of pity. He'd thrown away everything for an affair that meant nothing with a woman who never really wanted him. He'd have to live with that regret forever. But I didn't have to. I was free of him, free of that chapter, free to build my future without his shadow. Julian came out onto the balcony. You okay? I'm perfect. That was closure. He apologized, tried to give me money, admitted he was wrong. It changes nothing, but it's over now. Really, truly over. Good. Because I have something for you. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. This came to the office today. I thought you'd want to see it. Inside was a letter from the mayor's office. My community project had been selected as a model for future city development. They wanted to work with me on 3 more projects. It was official recognition, city endorsement, a partnership that would define my career. Julian, this is enormous. You earned it. Every bit of it. You're changing this city, Naomi. Making it better, more sustainable, more community-focused. You're living your dream. I leaned against him, looking out at the city I was helping reshape. I never thought I'd get here. After Cameron, after the divorce, I thought I'd be broken forever. But you weren't. You were bent but not broken. And you straightened yourself back up. That strength, Naomi. Real strength. Inside, the party continued. My party. Celebrating my work, my firm, my achievement. I could hear laughter, music, conversation. My mother was probably showing everyone photos of the wedding. Grace was probably networking, making connections. My team was probably discussing future projects. This was my life now. Full, rich, meaningful. Built on honesty and hard work and genuine relationships. Ready to go back in? Julian asked. Almost. 1 more minute. I pulled my phone from my small purse and opened my email. The one Cameron had sent me months ago, apologizing. I kept it, not sure why. Now I knew. I deleted it. Permanently. No trash folder, no archive. Just gone. Then I deleted his contact information. Blocked his number 1 final time. Removed every digital trace of him from my life. Okay, I said, putting my phone away. Now I'm ready. We walked back into the party together, hand in hand. My past was finally, completely behind me. My present was joyful. My future was bright. As we entered the ballroom, an envelope was being delivered to me by an assistant. "Miss Stevens, this just arrived. Special delivery." My heart sank. What now? What else could possibly happen tonight? I opened it carefully, half expecting some new disaster. Instead, inside was a contract. From one of the largest development firms in the country. They wanted to partner with me on a project in 3 different cities. The biggest opportunity of my career. "What is it?" Julian asked, seeing my face. "It's everything," I breathed. "It's every dream I ever had about my career, all in one contract." "You're going to take it, right?" "I have to. This is what I've been building toward. Multiple cities, sustainable design, community focus. This is my life's work." "Then celebrate," Julian said, pulling me onto the dance floor as the band started playing. "You've earned this. Every single bit of it." We danced and I let myself feel it all. The joy, the achievement, the love, the future. Everything Cameron had tried to take from me, I'd rebuilt bigger and better. Everything he tried to destroy, I'd made stronger. My mother found me on the dance floor, tears streaming down her face. "Baby, I'm so proud of you. Look at what you've built. Look at how you've risen." "Thanks, Mom. For believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. You always had it in you. You just needed the right circumstances to shine. And sometimes the wrong circumstances teach us to find our own light." Grace found me next, champagne in hand. "To my best friend, the most brilliant architect I know, and the strongest woman I've ever met. You're incredible, Naomi. I couldn't have done this without you. You saved me during the divorce. You saved yourself. I just helped with the paperwork. You did the hard work of rebuilding, of believing you deserved better." As the evening wound down, as guests started leaving, as the party transitioned to memory, I stood one more time at those floor-to-ceiling windows looking out at the city. Julian came up behind me, wrapping his arms around me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about that dinner. 2 years ago. When Cameron announced we were in an open marriage. When my life fell apart. I remember feeling like I was drowning, like I'd never breathe again. But you did breathe again. I did more than breathe. I lived. Really lived. I built a career that matters. I found love that's real. I created a life that's genuinely mine." Cameron thought he was giving himself freedom that night. What he actually did was set me free. His loss, your gain. Absolutely. And Julian? Thank you. For being patient. For being honest. For being exactly who you are. I love you. I love you too. Always. We turned away from the window, away from the city lights and the contemplation. The party was over. The guests were gone. But the future stretched ahead, full of possibility and promise. As we drove home that night, past buildings I'd designed, through neighborhoods I'd helped plan, I felt complete. Oh, happy. Cameron had tried to reduce me to nothing. Instead, he'd forced me to discover who I really was. Strong. Talented. Worthy. Capable of building a life that mattered. The text from Julian that night 2 years ago had changed everything. I have evidence. Those 3 words had started my journey from victim to victor, from broken to whole. But what really changed everything wasn't the evidence. It wasn't the divorce settlement. It wasn't even Cameron's downfall. What changed everything was my decision to fight back. To refuse to accept disrespect. To demand my worth. To build a life that reflected my value. Cameron thought he could control the narrative. He thought he could have everything and give me nothing. He was wrong. I controlled my narrative now. I had everything that mattered. And I'd given myself the life I deserved. That was victory. That was revenge. Not hurting him, but building something so beautiful, he'd spend the rest of his life knowing what he'd lost. And more than that, it was peace. Genuine, hard-won, deeply earned peace. As I fell asleep that night beside my husband in our home after celebrating my achievements, I smiled. Life was good. Better than good. It was exactly what I'd built it to be. Honest. Meaningful. Mine. And that was the best ending I could have asked for.